listen to me twice, but so welcome to this reading. Nos volvimos a pasar. We crossed again. This anthology is a journey that Rosie and I began with Nos pasamos de la raya. We crossed the line, volume 1. In this new volume, we start to advance this bilingual, bicultural dialogue of border crossings, stories and poems that continue to cross linguistic and cultural boundaries in both languages. We have extended the narrative to reach new and more distant frontiers as we offer a more inclusive vision of our initial themes of family, identity, geography, migration, gender, sexuality, and others. That's my brief introduction, and let's begin. So again, I want to thank you for being here today. We are so pleased to see you, both the authors and our audience. And we start with Kristen Celaya.
And I'm going to introduce her, I believe. Is that right?
Okay. I had her. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought it was me.
Okay. Well, Kristen, if you wanna turn on your camera, and I will pin you, and that way I can.
Yeah, it's on.
I don't see you. Where are you, Kristen? Let me see. I lost you.
My hair is wrapped in.
Yes,
in
hold
foam.
on one. Yes, hold on 1 second.
I want to let everybody know I have a show that begins previews tonight, so I'm not quite dressed for the occasion because I've got to go to the theater. I won't be here for the Q&A because I have to go to the theater at 6. So
perfect, Kristen. Kristen Celaya is Mexican-American Chicana, has a Master's of Fine Arts for Acting from the University of Washington, Seattle, and a Bachelor of Arts and Sciences for Theater and Literature from the University of Tennessee. She is a professional actor. We can see her right now. She's ready to go acting. She's an independent filmmaker and author based in Los Angeles, California. And her work centers around dismantling misogyny and racism in narrative storytelling. She is currently an artist in residence at the PCPA, where she performs in the season and teaches acting in the conservatory. She has also worked with Arizona Theater Company, playing the lead in American Mariachi, and Teatro Luna, where she is a company member contributing written and performance pieces in their device theater company, which centers in intersectional and Latin, female, and non-binary gays at the center of their work. Welcome, Kristen.
thank you. I'm actually currently located in the Central Coast, but I left that off of my item. And I also apologize. I've got a DoorDash that's due to arrive any moment, and a dog that is my informal security system. So my reading is going to get interrupted because they're arriving momentarily, but I will begin. This comes from my short story, Dark Windows. I'm picking it up at around page 2 of the story, Dark Windows. The accident had left tremors of shock in her body, which I sensed in the tips of my fingers as they traced the outline of her arm. As I stroked her fingers, she confided in me that Greg had touched her. She had only mentioned him once in passing. She told me he had recently become friendly with her mother and grandmother, and he was now part of their lives. My first instinct was to tell my parents, but she made me swear not to tell anyone. A small tear beaded down her face, and she asked me what she could do. I urged her to reconsider letting me tell a grown-up. She somberly stared at the ceiling, shook her head, and softly answered, "No. It's what you're supposed to do." She shook her head. "Can't." I saw another bead well in the corner of her eye. I assured her I would protect her. She turned her head to me. "It only happens when I'm alone." That made sense to me. I recalled that someone had tried to take me from my front yard in Florida when I was 9, when my dad was taking a nap. When the man came after me, there was no one else on the street. I concluded that so long as I was with her, she would be safe. I assured her that when we went back to Florida, I would never leave her side. We would find a way to banish Greg from our lives, and he wouldn't hurt her again. We began to view it as a hero's adventure. We strategized. She suggested, you could booby trap the house like Macaulay Culkin. I snuggled against her and felt her breath ease and drift to sleep as I caressed the skin between her fingers. The leaves were so green that summer, tucked away in the desolate rural hillside. We could smell honeysuckles from my window, which made the nights even softer than Crystal's touch. The next morning, as we munched on cereal, we made our pact in blood. We had seen it in a movie, and swore that we would never leave the other alone. A week later, we flew to her house in Destin and spent the rest of the summer. He looked like a blonde, trashy Elvis, with cherubim-like curves in his face. His manner was dry like bones, and his eyes were cold. He was 36. Crystal lived with her grandmother and her mentally challenged uncle, about 20 years her senior, named Adam. He absolutely idolized Greg. It was grotesquely obvious in the way Adam mimicked his walk and his stance. Sometimes Greg would pick him up and take him out for drinks, or, we suspected, to the strip club. When Greg came to pick Adam up, his mouth would burst to the seams with a smile he couldn't control. Crystal's grandma Shelley began to resent the way we antagonized Greg. We showed her an area of the closet we made into a place to hide from Greg, I told her. Shelley dismissed me and kept rambling. I repeated, at least we have a place Greg can't find us. And something in Grandma Shelley halted. I perked up at her reaction, hoping she understood me. I didn't want to be guilty of breaking my blood oath, but Greg's almost constant presence was an ever-increasing threat. Instead, she chided us both, even beckoning us into her room, which she almost never left, to tell us, leave Greg alone. I was learning to coexist with Greg, and for a time, our system worked. One day, we were running around the house. I had gone so far as to taunt Greg. As we ran, he reached for us. I stopped short, panting from exertion. I'll never let you catch her. He scoffed, and I backed away and rejoined Crystal, deliriously running around the house. When I reached the kitchen, I realized Crystal was no longer behind me. I darted back towards the living room via the hallway, and he had her. He slipped his tongue into her mouth while looking at me in the corner of his eye. I stood there, defeated and frozen in abject complicity. He released her and left. I averted my eyes from hers, and once he closed the door, I crept to the window to watch him drive off in his white truck. I stared out of the beveled windows a moment, fixating on the dizzying illusion of double vision in the dented glass. The magnolia tree and the tawny yard doubled. I waited for a breeze, but all was still except for the haze hovering over the asphalt road. My chest felt heavy as I sighed. We have to tell Grandma Shelley. Shelley was struck by our demeanor enough to turn off her soap opera. Crystal was at a loss for words, so I picked up the narrative. And I'm going to stop there because if there's one thing the theater has taught me, it's that you leave them wanting more.
Exactly. Bravo. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
And break a leg tonight.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to come back with Lori, who is going to introduce our next reader.
Hello, and so our next reader is Stefan Antomate. And Stefan was born in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. He has lived in Alabama, New York, Washington. He has written 8 books, 6 novels, and 2 books of poetry. Seasons, perhaps the first novel written in tweets, 100 characters or less, in Spanish and English, is used as a college text in universities throughout the U.S. and Puerto Rico. And please read to us, Stefan.
You're muted.
There you go. Too impressed by Kristen. Hello, and what should I read?
You pick.
Anything.
I'm
All right.
I'm going, yes, of course. I'm going to also time your, but if you want to time yourself, that's okay. We have about 7 minutes.
All right. Since it's about many people from many places, let's do a short one, titled A Little Strange, or a little weird, a little strange perhaps. Yes, I am somewhat strange or weird, resembling perhaps a vegetarian from Uruguay, a Nicaraguan without baseball or Darío, a Costa Rican without football, a gringo who does not like football, Dominican without merengue, a quiet Puerto Rican. That one I wrote for a Dominican poet named Jose de la Rosa, who passed away 2 years ago, and just a completely beautiful human being who resided in Queens, New York, and is perhaps one of my favorite poets. Before reading one more, I'd like to say hello to Karen Sevilla, who is in the audience. And Karen Sevilla was the one who contacted me to contact Rosy Toledo, and that's how I got into volume 1 and volume 2. So Karen, thank you. My admiration for your poetry, and thank you for being so kind in introducing me to Lori and Rosy. So thanks very much. So Lori, do you have any requests, or should I just pick one?
Oh, I want you to
Whatever
read.
you would like to read. Yes.
I was gonna say Miguelito.
Miguelito.
See?
All right. So Miguelito is a 2-part, 1-page short story, and it's titled Miguelito and the Snail Man. So the first part is Miguelito speaking, and then the second part is a kindergarten girl talking about her snail man. So Miguelito and the Snail Man. Miguelito, I had never taken the time to smell my knees. I had never taken the time to smell my knees. Since then, I'm curious how other knees smell. I know mom's to perfection. The knees of my newborn sister have a delightful scent. I would smell them every day until Dad noticed what I was doing and he hit me. I've gotten used to this place, small, dark, and safe, safer than my own room. I'm about to pass to first grade, and I'm a little nervous because the first grade classroom does not have a kitchen, one of those kitchenettes for children with chairs and tables our size. It has a stove where we play to cook food made of plastic, and a refrigerator where the other boys lock me in when the teacher leaves the room, and where I am stored like a leg of ham. There were days when other children forgot I existed, a mute, contorted gymnast inside the mini fridge. When the time came for the boys to take a nap, it was Camille, who always remembered me, and quietly and silently whistling, she would open the fridge door, Camille, the one with the sweetest and most beautiful knees. And the Snail Man. This is the second part, now Camille speaking. There is a man that lives in mother's room. He's always lying in bed and never leaves the room. Mother explained to me that his memories weigh tons, and that is why he cannot get up from bed. I do not understand. How can memories weigh tons? Minds are flimsy and fleeting. I call him the snail man. It's just that on Mother's night table, there is a seashell, and I think that man once lived in that seashell. He sleeps inside the shell, coiled like a centipede when it rolls up to avoid being crushed. I would like it if one day he would untwist himself from his memories and go outside to play with me like some of the fathers of the other girls do. In my mind, I call him Daddy, even though he is not my father. Sometimes I open the door to the room's door outside, and the outside light touches his face. He looks at me with one eye, and I think he smiles at me. I leave whatever I have to leave or pick up whatever I have to pick up and walk out the room. Sometimes I even give him a kiss. It is almost that time again to wake up from our nap. That reminds me of the other man in my life, the one that when I open the fridge's door, he breathes deeply and always smiles.
Bravo.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more.
One more.
Yes, please.
So I found out today that my aunt, that it's the only one that I have left, had surgery and came out fine. So I'm celebrating with a little good scotch. And it sort of like reminded me of something that I wrote in Nos pasamos otra vez. So let me get the book because I don't have it in English. And I'm sure this, you've pretty much all been to it. It's titled The Old Neighborhood. Doña Mercedes was the first one to die. Pito, her son, and my best friend died a few years after. And Don Manuel got Alzheimer's to forget all about it. Don Emilio tried to commit suicide and died of sadness. His son, Jose Emilio, my other best friend, moved far away to get away from the memories. Doña Gladys developed Parkinson's and suffered for a long time before dying. My younger sister died of an accidental overdose. Mother, beloved mother, suffered a severe stroke and agonized too much. She broke her front tooth while biting into a dark chocolate I had bought for her as a gift. She died soon after. My older sister was withered by cancer, 3 of them dead in 18 months. That my family dead. Don Peter and Doña Provi moved to Orlando because they say they would have better doctors over there. Doña Iliana, the neighborhood's Natalie Wood, went into the hospital alive and came out dead. Alfredito, her son, and a good friend, tried and tried until he broke down, and now he's in Texas and happy. Dominio also died of smoking, and Doña Lina lives in an elder home and has a boyfriend, and she dances with him, and she doesn't remember anyone. Don Quique, the hardest working man, has diabetes. His shriveled bones don't let him walk. He sits in the balcony looking out. But when he sees people working, he gets depressed and locks himself in his room. Doña Amparo is losing hope. For my part, I live in melancholy. I look through the bars of the window and remember the old neighborhood, when we had neighbors, when we were all here, when we lived without bars on the windows. Thank you.
Bravo.
Sí,
Thank you so
bien, bien
much.
hecho. Sí, 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 a ver.
Excelente. Thank you. We're going to continue our program with Elizabeth Jimenez Montelongo. Welcome, Elizabeth. And I am going to be the one that will introduce you. So we have Elizabeth Jimenez Montelongo is, oh, I'm so sorry, is a poet, a visual artist, and a facilitator whose work reflects her indigenous ancestry and perspectives as a Mexican Chicana woman. Her paintings have been exhibited across the country, and her poetry is published widely in literary journals and anthologies such as Nos Pasamos de la Raya, Cesura, Azares, Harvard's Palabritas, Label Mi Latino, and Somos en Escrito. Elizabeth earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Pictorial Art and a Bachelor of Arts in French from San Jose State University. She served as a creative ambassador of the San Jose Office of Cultural Affairs and is a board member of Poetry Center San Jose. She is the founder of La Raíz magazine. I will post her webpage and Instagram handle on the chat. Welcome, and you can start your reading now. I'll how do you say it? Take your time, and if I might interrupt you, but you more or less know what to do, right?
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great to be able to read with you all today. So I'm Elizabeth Jimenez Montelongo, and I have my two poems that were published, and I'm going to be reading them in English and Spanish. So voy a leer primero en español y luego en inglés los dos poemas que fueron publicados en la antología. Gracias. La línea chueca. Esto es acerca de la frontera. So this one's about the border south of the United States. La línea chueca. La cortaron con un cuchillo invisible. La vemos sangrar, sangre que no ven. La vemos llorar, lágrimas reprimidas. Cortaron una línea chueca al cuerpo, a lo ancho de su vientre. Una línea chueca que la hace sangrar y la hace llorar. Una línea chueca que partió los corazones de sus hijos y las mentes les rebanó. Una línea chueca hecha para proteger, pero solo lastima. Su herida podría sanar, pero la mantienen fresca. La hacen más ancha, más profunda. No ven la sangre chorreando de su vientre. No ven las lágrimas de sus hijos. La sangre se está juntando. La sangre de todas las heridas. Sangre y lágrimas están ascendiendo y caerán con fuerza sobre ellos. La corriente arrastrará sus cuchillos, enjuagará la costra de sus ojos, para que puedan ver lo que han hecho. Sus lágrimas se mezclarán con las nuestras, y juntos sellaremos la herida de nuestra madre, con lodo y paja. Okay, and then here's the same poem in English, A Crooked Line. They cut her with an invisible knife. We see her bleed, blood they can't see. We see her cry, tears she holds in. They cut a crooked line right across her body, a crooked line that makes her bleed, makes her cry, a crooked line that slices her children's hearts, slashes her children's minds, a crooked line meant to protect, but it only hurts. Her wound could heal, but they keep it fresh, make it wider, deeper. They don't see the blood dripping from her womb, don't see her children's tears. But the blood is gathering, blood from all the wounds. Blood and tears are rising up to wash over them. Sweep away their knives, rinse the crust from their eyes, so they can see what they have done. Their tears will mix with our tears, and together we will patch our mother's wound with mud and straw. All right, the next poem It's also in Spanish and English, so primero lo voy a leer en español, se llama Permaneceremos. Aquí en esta tierra ustedes clavaron sus espadas, su carne impusieron, acabaron un destino al empezar uno nuevo. Mientras sangrábamos, nos fortalecíamos, protegíamos a nuestros niños, aunque niños éramos. De ustedes conseguimos un poco de piel para cubrirnos. De ustedes conseguimos un poco de sangre para hacernos inmunes. Llevamos puesta su piel, su sangre corre por nuestras venas. Sin embargo, el corazón de nuestra madre marca el ritmo de nuestros pasos. Quemaron nuestros libros, pero las ideas están escritas en el tuétano antiguo de nuestros abuelos, que rellena nuestros huesos. Les cortaron el cabello a nuestras abuelas, pero su energía permaneció en nosotros. Les cortaron las lenguas a nuestros abuelos, pero sus cantos vibran en nuestro entorno. Nacimos en esta tierra como el maíz. Pertenecemos a esta tierra como los ríos. Brillaremos aquí como el sol. Soltaremos nuestras semillas al viento. Lo peor podrá ocurrir, pero permaneceremos de pie. Tal vez cambiaremos, nos transformaremos, pero nunca nos desapareceremos de esta tierra. Okay, and this is the same poem in English, and it's focused on our indigenous ancestry. We will continue. Here on this land, you stabbed with your sword, your flesh you imposed. You cut one destiny as you started another. As we bled, we grew stronger. We were still children as we protected ours. We took from you some skin to wear. We took from you some blood to make us immune. Now we wear your skin, your blood runs through our veins, but our mother's heart keeps the rhythm of our steps. You burned our books, but the ideas are written in our ancestors' ancient marrow, which fills our bones. You cut off our grandmother's hair, but their energy stayed within us. You cut off our grandfather's tongues, but their songs vibrate all around us. We were born on this land like the corn. We belong to this land like the rivers. We will shine here like the sun. Release our seeds into the wind. The worst may come, but we will continue to stand. We may change, transform ourselves, but we will never disappear from this land. I'm sharing links in social media in the chat. Gracias.
Bravo,
Thank you, bravo, bravo.
bravo.
Lindo, sí, sí, bien hecho. Bueno, continuamos con Gabriela Toledo Anaya. And Gabriela is an artist in several disciplines. She began writing from a very young age in a constant search to express the feelings that awakened in her imagination from her daily life. She exposes herself through her writing and appropriates the events, experiences of others to tell her stories. Along with painting, she remains in constant scrutiny of the reality around her. She participated in the contest Retratos de Familia with the story Despertar, and she placed 88th out of 705 participants. She also published the story Rio Bravo in the volume Nos Pasamos de la Raya. Thank you, and please read to us, Gabriela.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and welcome to this reading. I'm very pleased to share with you a few pages from the beginning of this short story. Gabrielle. I saw her through the window pane of the coffee shop across from the State Road number 7. I was cleaning a table. She was a beautiful, well-dressed young lady. It called my attention that she carried an old-fashioned bun on the back of her head, just as if she was a much older woman. She looked fake. Her pale face and dark eyes made her look like a scared kitten. She was sitting on the street, right outside the candy store of the gas station, across from La Curva, my coffee shop. She had a multicolored scarf in one of her hands. and a small purse in the other. I looked at her for a while, then returned to my cleaning and other chores. Later in the afternoon, my man arrived. He was a tall, smelly truck driver, too old for me, but it was all the same. He was here for a few hours. Same time, I took off to go upstairs to to kick off my shoes, make love, and have a drink. Just a few years back, my sister and I had inherited the property. I was only 16 at that time, and my older sister, Julia, was 23. Our parents, who had grown the business, had died coming back from a night party in the city. We were alone in that miserable and dirty place on the side of the state road, without protection of guidance. It was horrible to know that we were trapped with all those bad memories. It felt like a tombstone on top of our destiny. My sister Julia got sick of the routine and left one day. She never came back. Waiting tables to the same kind of people every day because a lingering phantom that haunts you even when you sleep. Smelling the breath of the same guest makes you dizzy until vomiting. And since I didn't know how to make a living any other way, I did what I had to do. Taking the lead, I had become la patrona. I worked at the same rhythm as the employees, from dawn of one day to the next. Not because I loved it, of course, but because I wanted to forget oblivion and kept solitude company. There were no days off, celebrations, parties, or anything. I lived my days as a robot, and I didn't even feel the nights. In those days, and being only 17, I was already sure that life couldn't be worse than that, but I couldn't be more mistaken. I discovered love and sex at the hands of a service boy who worked at the gas station in front of the cafeteria. I fell in love with him. It didn't last long because in nowhere land, in the middle of the dust and gas, between heavy drunks, the stronger rules. One night, a drunkard beat my boyfriend and humped me, not without me giving him a battle. Even though I fought him fiercely, he hurt me profoundly. Disappointment moved in to live with me permanently. I drank every day and turned into a cold bitch. I would have sex with a different guy every night or day. I was trying to fill the void so deep inside of me. With a few drinks, I dreamt of myself running barefoot towards the sea and never coming back. I waited tables, cooked, and managed the cafeteria, and mistreated anyone who lasted more than a few weeks working for me. Even so, when I went upstairs to take a break, in the darkness of my room, I would dream until I fell asleep. To dream was my only luxury. I remember it well. It was already night as I was coming downstairs. The darkness on both sides of the road were like a lion's mouth. From the top of the stairs, my eyes were drawn to the elegant young girl under the light bulb of the store. She looked like a doll in a window pane. She was sitting there just like in the morning, but she was shaking. Curious, I went out of the coffee shop and hurried directly across the road to her. I extended my hand and introduced myself. "Hi, I'm Gabrielle," I said. She jumped up and took mine with her soft and smooth hand. She looked at me with her brownish, shiny, almond-shaped eyes. "Isabel," she said, and gave me a good girl gentle smile, showing her perfect teeth. Despite her smile, I could see her sadness, Her fragility was evident. Come, I said, would you like to eat something? I don't know how it happened, but when I realized she was already part of my life. Isabel was a rich runaway. She had never been on the streets on her own. Her old school parents had her in a boarding school. She had grown tired of the repression and the solitude in which she had lived until then. She didn't have friends, and when she was with her family, she was never allowed to go out. One day, I began planning to run away, she told me. Look, I have all my savings with me. She handed me over the little purse she was carrying. She had left home without saying a word, bringing her purse with all that money and her multicolored scarf. She fixed fancy snacks and delicious desserts. She could sew, read, and paint. She told me she could also play the piano, but only classical music. All useless things, according to my limited point of view. In a few weeks, she proved me wrong. She would prepare stuffed pastry with her soft and smooth hands, with singular care to each pastry. The business had a good turn, and people began talking about it. Something new was happening at La Curva. We saw new faces, not only because of the food and drinks, but also due to the atmosphere. Now, we not only had truck drivers and passers-by, but people from nearby towns. Without excess or luxury, she helped me feel less rough. For the first time, I learned what it was to be happy. I would sing the little songs she began teaching me. I even sent someone to buy a keyboard for her to play music and cheer up our lives. She learned to play pop music. I did everything I could learn about her. I read and listened attentively when she played music. Life was beautiful. Well, thank you so much.
Very good, muy bien. Yes,
I hope you get interested and keep reading.
Gracias. Thank you so much, Gabi, for your contribution to this anthology. It's a great, great story, and I want everyone to read more about Gabriel and Isabel. Wonderful. And I am going to introduce Elizabeth Medrano Chavira. Give me just 1 second as I am moving and removing pins. Okay, I am ready. Elizabeth Medrano Chavira was born in Mexico City and grew up, I'm so sorry, and grew up in Michoacan until the age of 17. She is a worker, an artist, and a mother. 17, now 26, reaching 44, the short story that is in the anthology, represents her first participation as a writer on topics as personal and profound as womanhood and migration. During the last 29 years of her life, she has dedicated herself to social justice struggles in California, being part of campaigns of national impact in various areas of civil and human rights. At the same time, she was inspired by nature, culture. She is inspired by nature, culture, and creativity of life. Elizabeth envisions one day traveling around the world to tell her stories because she affirms that by sharing our experiences, we build bridges towards liberation. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Elizabeth Medrano Chavira, and I'm so happy that we are here sharing stories. So I'll read part of my story. 17, now 26, almost 44. It was presidential election night on a Via 2000, that's a bus, in the dark. in secret. Well, some friends knew because I told them last minute I left alone. Cuauhtemoc was said to be the people's candidate and that he would win. I wanted to witness his victory. I was so tired of all the fraud. I felt sad and uncertain of when I would vote, if ever. One day. I did not know the results until some 4 days after. From that night on, crossing meant everything. By Thursday, an airplane ticket to Tijuana had been purchased. I only saw it at boarding time. Never before had someone helped me in anything so efficiently, much less pay for tickets to travel cross country. How quickly my life changed since that day. La línea, the border, was like going to the store, like getting to the train, turnstile and all. How surreal everything seemed, the division, the wound, separation, the abyss. While hundreds tried crossing after verification by the uniformed ones, I tried answering questions that each agent asked. At each attempt, something went wrong. We walked and walked and walked, and this Paso del Norte was never to be found. Not near, so near and yet so far. Immigration agents all over. Soon came a break because we could not move further. The border patrol had us surrounded. Hunched low to the ground were a group of people. They caught them, said the coyote. See? That's why I said not talking to anyone and not to let anyone tag along. I'm only helping you cross. We continued walking, running, and chest toward the ground. There I sank my foot into the ditch near a field. The coyote laughed at me. We were just going around and around, not really moving forward. The more I walked, the more the mud was there, stuck in my leg. Los Angeles welcomed me with Proposition 187, an anti-immigrant bill led by Governor Pete Wilson, arguing that due to immigrants' lack of status, they should have no right or access to services such as medical care and education, etc. I trembled and sighed. Border images were fresh and incessant. I felt naked, as if my crossing was visible and written all over my body. Prop 187 felt like a personal attack, and of course it was. For years, it was terrifying to see police or hear the police sirens. I believed they were coming to get me. I wanted to forget, and I tried lying to myself, to my brain, so the border memory would die. If I were to succeed in forgetting, then I would not be afraid. I would not be found out. And after much lying, I would believe my new story. And so would others. I would be not anyone else's target. But that is not what happened. So I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you everyone for everyone's support. This has been many years in the making. And I'm looking forward to more stories and more storytelling. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo, brava, Elizabeth. Okay, so thank you so much. We continue with Devin Cohen. And Devin is a multi-instrumentalist, multidisciplinary artist working with experimental abstract visual art like painting, poetry, sound art. He writes, paints, exhibits, and performs across the US, Mexico, Israel, Paris, Iceland, Germany, Sweden, Lithuania, Spain, Japan, Hungary, Greece, Italy, Belgium, Switzerland, Austria, Argentina, Canada, Poland, India, and Turkey. His poetry book, All Praises, and his experimental alien architect, trip hop, post-hop poetry album, Arteria. His work has been selected for the Ibero Biennale de Puebla, as well as the Biennale de Pintura J.A. Monroy in Mexico. Devin's work has been exhibited in Museo de Arte Contemporáneo Ateneo de Yucatán, Macay, Centro Estatal de las Artes de Baja California in Tijuana, Centro Cultural Plaza Fátima in Monterrey, Museo UPAEP in Puebla, Museo de la Mujer in Mexico City, as well as the Slout Foundation and Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia. Devin Cohen's art was recently exhibited in Berlin, in Paris, and is currently being exhibited in Merida, Mexico. So please read to us, Devin.
Hello. Thank you so much. Hi, thanks, Lori, and mucho gusto. So nice to meet everybody. You can everybody can hear me, yeah? See?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great.
clearly.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's wonderful. Okay, here it goes. Relics of the fallen, asylum, messenger transport, translation, transcribe, scribe, chromatic, chromatin, signaturing, documented, fermented, cemented, dented, vented, corpus, swimming in tears, dreary, weary, fury, wiry, gasping, grasping, clanging, beget, begrudgingly bulge, banging, pelt, clothed, smolder, wimpy, whimpering and glimmering entombment, reluctant cowardice, minutes from sacrifice, ripen, rippin, muscle from bone, sedentary, behind walls, affront, biocentrism, speciesism for casting manifold, transcend, it's not a place or a location to get to, but outsmarting one's habits and desires, which are all participatings in the stock and the contributions, the comforts, discomforts, adrenaline peak, shaking, teary-eyed, the grass green, greener on the side of the othered, authored, unlearned vertice of forgetfulness, i.e. the evolutionarily designed, though not yet designated benefits of forgetfulness, too much information stored in the same such way as database information overload, as to create new reality, which is actually always the same one, just shared for scheduling purposes at certain times within the history, which is set by such time, catch 22, back and forth, tug of give, take till one side falls down and the other, detached of the modes and the models, the widely open terrain, spatially equanimous, the straw man, nameplates, identity, association, personality, the wit, the side taken, the simulate, the simulation, the similar smile, the wrinkles around the eyes, the baggy, ajar, perceiver, receiver, receptive, receptacle, not one word to add, no ideas. This world around me is speaking out of me as input, put there on off on putting charactered, other bodied extensions of self, for why thought so, endless, on, and headache each itch, high-pitched sound and background as if quiet, constant constants, how frequent is frequency, fetch, sunken, pale, inverted bulge, powder dust, pollen, stuffy drip, scanning and stiff and everything fluttering in like memories, the moments between thought and action or word is delayed loading time, hesitance, off timing, adaptation, not sure where I am, words and actions for other places, though not this one, not here. Every soft light glow, iridescent, reminiscent, feels like the past of somewhere else and through someone else's eye and another person's eye, though can't rewind what the clock had done to me. Surface behavior accurate to a degree, though only till expiration, boiling point time, and a bit like for others who are seen as not having lost that spark and shine and memory of what that's like keeps them acting as if it is so, though the tears and puffiness and pitiful of years on end leave him shaking like the timid dog on his lap with paws on table, not a wrong word, not a wrong timing, shaken, dry, peeling, veiny, pale, unkempt, crease disjointed, a breakdown, a meltdown, pressed in a deep press, sad, said at night, unslept, pounding chest as if acknowledged behind the lids, in front of the eyes, a mild burning, a yearning for a thing that's no longer possible, though perhaps it never was, so close, weakened, lack of strength, unable tire, winded, brevity, solar shines through closed lids, filtered by and within dimensions of glass window billowing open sight atop clouded covering winded wounded nighttime terrors, replays each word and encasing a cloth, reliving more of the same again and again, blue in the face, mind-shaped ritual, ravenous, vulturous, encapsulate, spinning wounds outwarded, flattened by flattery, flown, floon, strewn, foul, spoil, water damaging, a wrong rag, the lowly, pitiful, shame it, sad, eternal, ethereal, broken, bloke, spoke, hope, hope, note, choke, oak, melancholy, spokes, droops, drips, droppings, plopping, hopping, nodding off to slumber, struck, lumber, truck, slop, mop, enacted, pander, tree, slop, agnostic, acrostic, splatter, Greta the getter at urge, gauge, gauntlet, gamma ray, cause, I qualms, sworn, warm, sectionality, eyes, edding, ingot, is, the looking, and the kind ones, and the in common, and the shared same, and the next to nothing, and the don't exist, and the out of nowhere, now here, the inside of the outer of the inside, the inner of the outer, tear into the retina, retain, refrain, revel, refract, timber, tamper, tombs, ashes, parcel, perch, a philos, elfin, soup, sworn, swarm, worm, gold, goalie, gone, froggy, turtle, swampy, wombats, tangled, layers, hellish, anyway around, the bodies made of costume, the faces made of mask, the words made of sound, their intellect, spooked, looked like in bone dry, smog, and the in-betweens of years of torturous, treacherous, reality intake, escalate, eruptive, rebel, antique, etiquette, eloquent, quilt, quit, fit, sprint, relics of the fallen, asylum. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot.
Wow.
Much love.
Wow. I really, bravo.
Yeah.
You know
No,
how many times while editing this book, this anthology, I read your piece and I was really wanted to hear you perform it. I was really looking forward. So thank you so much that you were able to be here today and share this with us. And thank you. Bravo.
Oh, gracias. Thank you so much.
Un honor, gracias.
Yeah, very good. I am going to invite everyone up here with me. Open your cameras, and we're going to start the Q&A. If anybody in the audience wants there is a Q&A. You can write your questions in the chat. You can just raise your hand and you know, I'll start giving you voice or reading your questions, or also letting you start your microphone and ask us questions. So if you want to
My question
start
maybe
your...
I don't know.
Sorry? Yes, go ahead, Patricia. If you can please speak a little bit louder.
Okay. I would like to say that I'm very honored to hear all of you guys reading your poetry and to see this reality. I really enjoy Devin's presentation, because I just respect a lot the way that people commit with their own poetry. It's not really well defined like any other arts in terms of people respecting the whole protocol that will be reading aloud, memorizing their own poems. I did it when I was 7. So I don't think why we cannot do it. I mean, and this is beautiful, Devin. I really appreciate it. And that was my comment. Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you. Anybody else wants to jump in?
Can I?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to congratulate both of you who compiled this anthology, as well as other authors, writers included. It's amazing reading. Really, it's something else. But I wanted to hear a little bit more about the journey of publishing this anthology and coming about this beautiful, gorgeous idea of the project of Colibri. If you may, please.
Thank you for your question. If you want to start, and then I can pick up, Lori, you want to do that?
Yes, so I mean, Colibri was, Rosie and I had talked about doing this a lot in the past years ago, and we would always, say someday, you know what I mean? We want to do this, but in the meantime, let's publish this. And so we published our first book, and then we were trying to publish this second anthology, and it got picked up by somebody, and then we had some disagreements, and it couldn't go through. And then a very reputable company that focuses on Chicano and Latino, mostly Chicano, but other Latinx writings, picked up our book, and we were thrilled. It took him 2 years, Rosie?
Two years, of course, and also the pandemic got in the middle.
The pandemic got in there in the middle, yes. And then when he finally sent us a proof, it was atrocious, and we just couldn't believe it, because he was such a they were a reputable company, and we just thought, we can't waste any more time. We were sitting talking, and I think it was like spontaneous. I said, you know what, let's just do it ourselves, because if we started with a third publisher, it would have, we didn't have another year or so to wait, to lose. We wanted our book to come out, and we had an idea what we wanted. We wanted this flip it.
I'm gonna show it because
mine is we wanted this flip it thing, and that's what threw our last publisher off. He tried to do it, but it didn't. He had pages upside down, etc. And when we saw it, we were like, no, this is embarrassing. We can't do this, And we just did not want to give him any more time, because he said, well, I can fix it. And we said, no, let us out of the contract. We had already signed a contract, so let us out of the contract. And that's how we decided to do it ourselves. And I know that I can work with Rosie. We've known each other for 20 years.
20 years. 20 plus years.
20 plus.
Like any relationship, we had our ups and downs and our fallings, especially with this book, especially when you're trying to do something like this. I really, I think that my applause goes to the authors. From the 20, we had 25 authors, and only one author decided to leave the boat at one point, said no more. I'm pulling out my story, and that really it makes my heart swell, because everybody wanted to be part of this project, and they kept the faith on us, and I really appreciate that. You guys can ask for anything, because I know that you trusted me, and I trust you guys forever and ever. It was a very long process. I think I know your stories by heart. When you are reading them, I know what you're saying, because we've read them so many times. We did a lot with that, and I'm very proud. It took us a long time, very long time, and we changed. So thank you for your question, Karen. It's an exciting story, and because of what you just asked, Karen, I know a couple of you will have excellent stories on. In the meantime, while we were trying to publish this book, how life changed, because it took us a good 7 years to get this baby out of the oven. So if anybody can tell us a little bit of how life changed for you, and just start your microphone and tell us.
I can share, I guess. Just really briefly, thank you for all the efforts. I just, in terms of the writing process, I've published things before, but for work related to public policy and things like that, which is it's been an honor for me. But this is my first time that I put out something that is very close to me. And so throughout the process of the years, my titles changed, the ending changed, different things, names of people changed. So I'm actually grateful that all those revisions happened, because the story changed and I changed. I am now connecting from the sort of like the heart central area in Mexico. I decided to make my dreams come true. And on my bio said that I wanted to travel around the world, so I just started to do that for the first time since I was 17 years old. So more will be revealed, and I've changed. I know my ending changed many times, so I'm in a big process, starting, I guess, the second chapter in my life. So and I'm writing, so I'm excited about that.
Good.
Bravo.
Yeah. Somebody else?
Well, I just wanted to share that I imagine that everyone's life has changed so much.
Gabby, there's an echo. Is there another computer on in the same room or in the vicinity? Because there's an echo. Yeah, they need, yeah.
Okay. Just
Okay, somebody wants to.
I'm
Somebody else
sorry, I
wants to.
have to
in
move
the
from
meantime.
one place to the other.
That's okay. Okay.
It's just that I was upstairs, but the internet is really bad. So I had to come downstairs where everyone else is. So I guess life has changed for everyone during these years. And of course, for me, there are plenty of stories, many more, that I have written. I started this like I have several projects going on at the same time. I paint and I listen to music and I write. So it's a very how do you say, curioso. It's a very peculiar way of working, and the outcome is always good, at least for myself, which is really what I really like. So, well, that's it. Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias, Gabby. Gracias, yes. Elizabeth, Stefan?
I can share a little bit about my experience. So 7 years. At the time my daughter must have been a year old then. She's 8 now. She just turned 8. And so yeah, like that the whole time period has been like me experiencing motherhood for the first time. And also during the pandemic. Well, at the time of the pandemic started, I was working about half time on my like art poetry work and half time as an educator, eventually substitute teacher. But after the pandemic, I kind of changed things around. Right now, I'm working mainly as an artist and poet, and I also founded La Raíz magazine, which hopefully some of you have heard about. And we publish a yearly literary journal. We call it a magazine, and so yeah, we have 3 issues out, and so that's been a really interesting and fun way to support poetry and art in the community. And like since it started during the pandemic, like we've connected with a lot of people in other states, and hopefully some of you here will also want to publish some of your work with La Raíz. And yeah, it's been like the major things for me, like motherhood and La Raíz magazine work. Yeah, happy to share that with you today.
Yes, great. Creating. Wonderful. The energy of the creators. All right. Is anybody else in our public that wants to or has a A question?
Yes, I'd like to speak. My name is Doug, and I'd like to thank all the artists for a really beautiful textured experience that was so personal and really touched me. And I'd also like to acknowledge my dear friend Elizabeth for inviting me, but also just for the wonder of your work. It's really beautiful. I've seen you in many contexts, but I've never heard you read your work, and it was very beautiful and very courageous. That's always my experience of you. That there's a vitality and a pushing forward. Your vision seems very moving to me. So thank you so much. I'm so glad I'm here.
Great,
Thank
welcome,
you.
welcome.
This has been a team effort. I know Doug told me, it's time, Elizabeth. It's time. Thank you.
You're muted.
I was gonna say, Devin or Stefan, would you like to share something about your journey? And I mean, it was a long time.
Hi. Yo. Hi. Can you hear me? Sorry, let me pardon.
Yes.
Yes.
We
Yeah,
can hear you.
absolutely. Oh, it's been very interesting. But now I'm in Mexico City, and I'm just so thrilled and so excited and ecstatic to have heard each of you speak, and this this book chance to you, to nosotros, to us as unified all of us. And yeah, I mean, right now it's like we just had an exhibition at Lilliput Gallery in Puebla, and actually we just reached our 8-year anniversary of the gallery. And a trip hop group that was singing different ranges of vocals and things, they performed, and it was lovely. And it's exploring and just writing as we move through. There's some times where I've been going through some things, oh, screaming in the night, oh no, and then some love and stuff, and feel bad, feel good, and moves around. And like exhaling and getting it out, and suddenly it rains and everybody cries and laughs and different, I don't know, come up with how I explain it, but yeah. And we were just at this it's like a US embassy thing, and they were talking about some things. Like, now we're a block from there, then they closed, and I ran to this cafe, and so here we are. Yeah, I
Well,
could kind of go on and on and on. And todos a todos, beneficiosos, cariñosos.
sí, gracias.
Thanks.
Especially a special thanks
Mhm.
for making an effort, even though that you're in the middle of Mexico City, and trying to be here and be connected. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So Stefan,
Well, I think everything has
Mhm.
changed. I think that we stopped drinking the Kool-Aid. I think the masks have come off. I think that we have to rethink about our capitalist pseudo-democracy. It's almost like an inflection point of what's important in my life. And I think everybody's reevaluating what really matters. Elizabeth talked about her daughter. Lori about, is it going to be about being a writer, a dean, mom of a cinematographer? I think everybody is sort of like asking the question, what do I really want to do? What's really going on? and all the lies and the bullshit that we consume as baby boomers or generation Y or X, I think the masks are coming off, and it's really good. I'm actually more hopeful than, pessimistic. I'm actually quite hopeful. If you saw the news last night in Ohio and Kentucky and Virginia, it's almost like you feel the world just went nuts. And then last night, the news were actually kind of like the sane people might outnumber the crazy people. And I don't mean crazy because I consider myself a little nuts, but okay, let's call it the insane people. And the US is teetering on being insane. Latin America is teetering on being insane. Even though we created magic realism, it's almost like the mask is coming off, and I like that. We don't have the answers to anything new, but we do question everything, and we put a big question mark on all those assumed truths that we're living by. Work hard, make money, make a living. And now we are all like, nah, that was bullshit. It was somebody exploiting somebody else. And maybe I'll just become a poor poet like Karen Sevilla. Maybe I'll just write that novel I always wanted to write, or 2 or 3 or 4. Maybe I'll live in a smaller house. Maybe I'll make love to that person that I want to make love to that I never make love to. So it's almost like the mask is coming off, and the positive side of COVID, I think it was just that. It's like, what really matters in your life? Because it's definitely not just money and prestige and career. And, seeing Devin and the younger guys, there's some anger there that I really like. It's like, I mean, we're all grown-ups. It's like, a fuck you of what's expected of me and what am I supposed to live like. I'm gonna try to be happy and have a drink or two, and oops, sorry, Elizabeth. I didn't know there was a minor around. So I think it's been a good thing about, going deeper into what has meaning in our lives. And I honestly believe that poetry is one of those things, and literature is one of those things. I teach history and I write fiction, and they say, what's the difference between fiction and history? And I always say, literature is everything that history left out. The history is written by the conqueror. So what about the ones who are conquered, right? Wisława Szymborska, my favorite poet, used to say, I prefer conquered people than the conquering ones. So I think through poetry and literature and everything that I heard tonight, it's like some sort of version of the truth is coming out about how we should live our lives. So cheers to Lori and Rosie for being nuts and starting a publishing company at the young age of 25.
Yes, yes. Thank you all. So please visit our website at I think you put it in there, right? Colibri
I put it on the chat. Yes,
Yeah.
please
Colibri
visit the website.
Yeah, .com. Nos volvimos autores, right?
Nos
Yeah,
volvimos autores.
Yes, where you can read the prologue and you can read about all the authors, the 25 authors, people that couldn't make it today, but maybe next time, like Michelle Shaw, Selena Bortolotto, Esteban Cana, Veronica Grossi, Julian Higgins, and several others. Also, check in there for announcements that Rosie and I are working on for Colibri's upcoming projects. So visit our website, and thank you today's presenters for making the time, and thank you to our audience for being here with us today. We are, thank you.
Can you Gabby, can you turn on your camera? I want to take a screenshot, please. Anybody in the audience that wants to be part of the screenshot, turn on your camera.
Oh yes, some people have left.
Great. Okay. One, two. One, two.
Okay, just a minute, please.
Yes. Uh-huh. All right. Okay. Smile. 1, 2, 3. Another one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All right. See you next time.